Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Welcome to today's reading from Brilliant as the Sun, retelling of Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Mysteries of Creation. We were reading from chapter 7, the Lord's Incarnations. Brahma went on to describe the quadruple incarnations of Lord Ram and his three divine brothers Bharat, Lakshman and Shatrughna, the sons of King Dashrath. The goddess of fortune will appear as Sita Devi, the beloved daughter of King Janak, and become Ram's wife. Later, to honor his father's promise, Ram will reside in the forest along with Lakshman and Sita for 14 years. In the 13th year, the Rakshas king Ravan will kidnap Sita and take her to his capital Lanka. Narad saw at once the powerful Ram, dressed in tree bark, marching with his brother Lakshman at the head of an army of powerful monkeys and bears. When their path was blocked by the sea, Ram, his eyes red with anger, boiled the sea with his fiery glance. The great ocean trembled in fear, seeing his family members such as the sharks, snakes and crocodiles being scorched. The ocean deity surrendered to the Lord and allowed his army passage to Lanka. Ram then besieged Ravan's capital and slew him with all his Rakshas followers. With great reverence and devotion, Brahma next spoke about Krishna. When the earth is afflicted due to the predominance of belligerent kings, Lord Krishna will descend in his extraordinarily beautiful original form. His real purpose for coming will be to exhibit his delightful human-like pastimes so that his devotees can enjoy great bliss by discussing them. Narad envisaged Krishna receiving worship as the chief person in King Yudhishthir's great Rajasuya sacrifice. He saw Shishupal supported by many other kings, objecting that Krishna was a mere mortal. As the scene faded, he mentioned this to his father. Brahma gave a short laugh. There is no doubt Krishna is the Supreme Lord. How can a normal mortal child perform his astounding feats? He will kill the giant demoness Putana whilst he was just a suckling baby of few days. Later he will smash a hefty wooden cart with his toe when he is 3 months old. When still only a toddler, he will uproot 2 huge trees by wedging a stone grinding mortar between them. All these activities are impossible for any other than the Lord himself. For some time, Brahma recounted Krishna's incredible feats. Absorbed in an ecstatic trance, Narad saw each of them. When Krishna was just 3, he broke a pot of butter and after filling his own belly, distributed the rest to the monkeys. His mother Yashoda chased the transcendental culprit and on catching him tried to bind him. The rope was 2 inches too short. Yashoda collected more rope, but still it was 2 inches short. Eventually she gathered all the rope in the village, but the 2 ends still would not come together. On another occasion, Yashoda looked into Krishna's mouth to see if he had been eating dirt. To her astonishment, she saw the entire universe. Narad saw Krishna as a young boy jumping into the Yamuna river to chastise the venomous Kaliya serpent. The residents of Vrindavan raced to the riverside and were besides themselves with anxiety as Krishna disappeared beneath the blackish water. After Krishna defeated Kaliya and returned to the shore, his friends and family were so exhausted from the ordeal that they lay down to sleep on the river bank. In the middle of the night, they were engulfed by a forest fire which threatened to kill them all. To save them, child Krishna opened his mouth and instantly swallowed the fire. He saw Krishna curbing Indra's pride when the god tried to inundate Vrindavan. He was privy to the magical autumn evening when the Lord danced simultaneously with millions of Vrindavan's beautiful milkmaids. He also witnessed Krishna defeat numerous demons like Putana, Bakasur, and Aghasur. When the account of Krishna's pastimes was finished, both Brahma and Narad sat in stunned silence for some time. Meditating upon the Lord's limitless charm and astonishing power, they were both immersed in ecstatic rapture, with tears streaming from their eyes. Slowly Brahma regained his composure and began to recount the pastimes of Krishna's other incarnations. In each of my days, the Lord appears as Vyasadeva, the son of Satyavati, to divide the one Veda into sections and thus make it easier to understand. He also comes as Buddha to bewilder the atheists who misuse Vedic teachings, to stop animal killing in the name of religion. Lord Buddha will refute the Vedas and promote non-violence. Finally, at the end of Kali Yuga, when everyone will be godless, Krishna appears as Lord Kalki and kills the atheists. Narad saw the effulgent Kalki mounted upon a great white charger, wielding a gleaming sword as he swept through the massed ranks of demonic forces, cutting them down like a field of wheat. Brahma ended his account by saying, "Myself, Vishnu, and Shiva, who create, maintain, and annihilate the cosmos, also represent Krishna's supreme power, which exceeds all knowledge. Perhaps a scientist may count the atoms in the universe, but this would be nothing compared to the task of understanding Krishna's glories. Even Anantashesh, the divine serpent who has been endlessly describing Krishna's qualities with his 1,000 faces, has not been able to fully enumerate them. How then can we ever know him?" asked Narad. "When a person takes guidance from Krishna's pure devotee, he will receive the Lord's grace. By such favor, he will be able to give up his attachment for the bodily pleasure, and then only will he understand Krishna to some degree. As long as one is still attached to sensual enjoyment, he cannot know Krishna." Brahma assured Narad that they were both eligible to realize Krishna to a limited extent, and he named other prominent celestials and sages who were also so qualified. Narad wondered about ordinary people. Could they not achieve perfection? Sensing his concern, Brahma assured him that anyone who sincerely took shelter of Krishna's pure devotee could understand him and return to his eternal spiritual abode. There are no bodily qualifications. Even the most sinful persons can attain perfect spiritual realization if they follow the guidance of such saints. Narad asked his father to explain more about spiritual realization. Brahma described how there are 3 levels of realizing Krishna. The first is Brahman realization, when the devotee understands Krishna's greatness. Brahman, the Lord's all-pervasive feature, is indescribable as it has no material characteristics. Nevertheless, it is the source of the entire material creation. When a person realizes Brahman, the illusory energy can no longer act on him. He ceases to identify with the material body and is therefore not subject to bodily miseries, including even death. Narad opened his eyes wide in astonishment. "You mean Brahman realized people do not become sick, old, or even die?" Brahma laughed. "Their bodies may get ill and perish, but because they are fixed in spiritual realization, freed of bodily identification, they do not experience the miseries of old age, disease, and death. They always remain undisturbed and peaceful. The great spiritual consciousness, an unlimited flow of everlasting happiness without fear of it being broken." "How does one attain this realization?" asked Narad. Brahma explained that some renounce the world and dedicate themselves to studying the Vedas, others engage in meditation, still others remain in worldly life and hear and chant about Krishna. Those practicing mental speculation and meditation give up these once they attain Paramatma realization. On the other hand, those who reach this stage through hearing and chanting about Krishna become more enthusiastic about their practices. What is the benefit of continuing to hear and chant after attaining Paramatma realization? O great benefit, dear Narad, they go on to attain Bhagwan realization, which is to become the Lord's personal associate and enter his eternal loving pastimes. This stage of spiritual consciousness is the ultimate spiritual attainment. Brahma explained that Bhagwan realization can only be achieved by constantly hearing about sorry, I lost my concentration there. What is the benefit of continuing to hear and chant after attaining Paramatma realization? Oh, great benefit, dear Narad, they go on to attain Bhagwan realization, which is to become the Lord's personal associate and enter his eternal loving pastime. This stage of spiritual consciousness is the ultimate spiritual attainment. Brahma explained that Bhagwan realization can only be achieved by constantly hearing about Krishna from an elevated devotee who is already at this stage. One must also repeat what he hears for the benefit of others and remain always absorbed in remembering Krishna. Without thus worshipping Bhagwan, study of the Vedas and meditation cannot bear fruit. However, worshippers who approach Krishna by such devotional practice, which is known as sadhana bhakti, do not need to study the Vedas or meditate to achieve success. The Lord is so kind that even if devotee dies before attaining spiritual perfection, he is given the opportunity in his next life to continue his practice. Brahma concluded, my dear son, I have now described in brief the incarnations and pastimes of the Supreme Lord, creator of the manifested worlds. He is the ultimate cause of all existence. Feeling compassion for the conditioned souls, Brahma urged Narad to expand these teachings. The Lord himself gave me this knowledge known as the Srimad Bhagavatam. My dear Narad, you should also distribute it for the good of all. Brahma knew that anyone who with faith and respect regularly discussed the Srimad Bhagavatam, trying to systematically understand it, would surely enter the Lord's eternal spiritual pastimes to enjoy unlimited happiness in his loving association. Narad was deeply enlivened to share what he had heard. Playing his transcendental veena and chanting Krishna's names, he took his leave from his exalted father and commenced his travel across the universe. So next time we will begin chapter 8, Parikshit's question. I wish you all a very happy Bhami Ekadashi today, and also today there was half-day fast for the Bharadwadashi, which is tomorrow. The fasting was done till noon today. Thank you for joining. I am Tatsam. Hare Krishna.